Coming to you from an entrenched barricade deep in the heart of central North Carolina. Masculine Journey After Hours. A time to go deeper and be more transparent on the topic covered on this week's broadcast. So sit back and join us on this adventure. The Masculine Journey After Hours starts here now.
Welcome to Masculine Journey After Hours. We are continuing our topic of the new name / identity and sharing some stories and sharing some clips like we always do, but basically how God's came after us to correct how the enemy has attacked us in our whole life. Andy, you want to talk a little bit about that? Can you share with that before we get to our first clip?
Yeah, I mean, in search for your new name, and again, you're asking God to tell you what it is. What gets in the way, I think, a lot of times is it's hard for us to believe who he says we are because we've been labeled so much with all the counter stuff of that. So if you're looking for your glory or your, that's a term for basically your identity or what your new name is or what it's related to, it's the opposite of that a lot of times. So you're called something, the inferior of that, positive characteristic or trait that you may carry that identifies you uniquely, and the enemy tries to pound that. And as long as he can get you to believe the negative part of who you are, that's what you're going to gravitate to. That's why it's so hard for us to come into the new name. Our default is the fallen name, the name that the enemy wants to keep us bound up by.
Yeah, it is key. He attacks us with it so frequently, we believe that's our identity.
Yeah.
Darren, in your story before this show and the previous show, he had attacked you with all the dangerous things you'd done that didn't work out well. Mm-hmm. That wasn't a positive attribute.
Yeah, I mean, he had convinced me that being dangerous was the worst possible thing.
Right. So
when God said, "You're dangerous," I bought in really quickly. Yep, yeah, I know, God, but I'm trying to quit, Mm-hmm. I mean.
Like smoking.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much like that for me. And do you got a patch for that? Yeah. But anyway, God slowly began to work with me on that and convince me that, no, I created you that way. And not only did I create you that way, but I need you to be that way. You're going to bear my glory in a way through that identity that no one else is.
Right.
And if you don't do it, it's not going to get done. And so when I started living in that, Denisha's sitting here beside me. Denisha and I, we had one of the best daddy-daughter relationships in the history of the world for many, many years of her young life. But then things began to go awry. And it wasn't until I began to walk in that new name and begin to use that as a gauge for is this being dangerous or is this being dangerous,
mm-hmm.
Sort of thing. And it wasn't until I started doing that I became more free. But what ended up happening was those waves ripple far beyond you. Mm-hmm. It began to set her free, and it began to set other people free. And so we're lucky that we're getting to see second and third generation now beginning to walk in this message. So.
Oh, absolutely. I've had my boys at boot camp, and to hear them talk about and then live out of their new name is pretty amazing. We'll get to our clip here in a few minutes, but Dinesh, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about if you'd like to share anything about your experiences in this topic.
Well, obviously, Dad getting his new name and set the precedent for not only for him changing and him gauging, but it set the precedent and an example for us. It also allowed us to see, okay, what does that even mean? So obviously, like he said, we're now into second and third generations of it, and my brother and I both got to experience it. I was given mine in 2013, but I didn't understand it. I did to an extent, because it boiled back down to the original 5-year-old little girl that wanted to fight for everybody. And when she couldn't rescue them, she cried her eyes out and things like that. But I was hurt by that over and over and over again. And so it was a way for Satan to use that against me or tell me, that you're just going to get hurt. You're just going to get hurt. It's not until the last probably 5 years that I've really understood fully what, and probably not even fully at this point, but understood what God was trying to tell me in that. So it's men searching or going after this. It's not just for you. It's definitely for the other people in your lives, and it sets the example. It changes the narrative completely, and all of anybody you touch, it's going to change the narrative of their lives, because you are being able to be used by God in the way that He intended fully.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, thank you. If Robbie was here, he would talk about, and he's probably one of the best ones I know at this, is calling out other people's glory. Right? And when we're talking about glory, it's not your glory, it's your reflection of God's glory. Right? We are called image bearers, and an image bearer is a reflection. Right? But you reflect God in a way that only you do. And we've talked about that many times, but it's something that you have to learn to grasp, because it's a big honor and it's a big responsibility both. Right? But you have the opportunity, when you see it in your family, when you see it in your friends, to call out those glorious things that say, wow, you really do this well.
Yeah, and I think that's the other part of this, is it's allowed even me as a parent, understanding that those messages have way more power than we realize, especially as young parents, to call out my children's glory and say, no, Lily, this is not who you are. No, Jackson, this is not who you are. This is who you are. From the very beginning, this is who God made you. So it's just a really neat thing to speak into the people that are in your lives in that way too.
Absolutely, it is. Are you comfortable sharing your name?
My name?
Yeah, that God gave you?
Yeah, it's Tender Warrior.
Okay. So how has God helped you see that differently, if you don't mind me asking?
I've always had a drive, like I said, to help, or I had a savior complex is what, is what I guess the world calls it. And I used it negatively, and Satan was able to really play on that with me over the last 5 years of really digging into that. It's more about going after the hearts, of using my story, using the stuff that's happened to me, but also the redemption in my story that God has provided to fight for the hearts of younger females, or and help them work through a lot of what happens to them in today's time. So he's still allowing me to fight, and yeah, I still have the very tender, soft heart, and it's hard for me to understand a lot of things sometimes, and I have to go to God and just, God, this really hurts. Why?
Yeah.
And He has to remind me, it's because I gave you that heart. And I've asked Him, why did you give me this heart?
Yeah.
Why?
Because you could bear it.
Yeah, but at times you ask yourself, what, can I? But you can.
Yeah.
And so it's been a really cool thing for God and I to explore that.
Yeah, and you made the point very perfectly there, that out of good intention, we step into arenas thinking we need to go do something. And you're absolutely correct. You were made to go do something, but we did it absence of God.
Right.
Right, and that's where it typically failed.
Yeah.
Right, that we charted off in uncharted territory without our guide, and then we wonder why we end up at a place we didn't think we'd end up.
Or you may even think that you're doing it with God, but you're not going to God.
Right.
You're not asking the questions that need to be asked. You're not submitting. You're not allowing Him to guide. You're being the guide. You're controlling. And so you can think you're doing it in God's name or whatever, but until you submit and let Him have the control of that, it's usually not going to have a great outcome.
letting him think for us.
Right.
Absolutely, and to follow his lead. The two best things I ever did as a father for my kids is, number one, let God work on my heart, as Darren articulated well. And the second thing was to realize I had to constantly pray, God, I don't know how to be a father of fill in the blank. Mm-hmm. A child that's in this situation, a child that's feeling this way. I need you to father me, because I have no answers. I'm lost well after their teenage years. Mm-hmm. It lost me there. Right, and to lean into him and say, God, I need you to father me in this, because I don't know how to be their father.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everybody in this room is in the latter half of the 100 years, and yet every morning, without fail, I am usually praying, God, father me through X, right? Whatever it is. It's father me through being a good grandfather, father me through being a friend, father me through being a good husband, but being a 1,000 different things. But it's constantly saying, God, I don't know how to do this, and asking in a very personal way for him to use his father's heart to nurture my father's heart.
Absolutely. Andy, I know we have some clips, but if we don't get to clips, we don't get to clips. But do you feel like sharing anything about your new name? Because everybody, it's a different experience, right? Sometimes we have a hard time believing it because it's been attacked, as you illustrated well when you talked about it. Yeah. Sometimes we're afraid of what it's going to require of us, right? There's lots of ways that the enemy attacks us in it. If you'd share a little bit about yours, I'd love to hear it.
So whenever I first started coming to boot camps, that was a new concept. I'd read it in a book, but to hear people talk about it, testify it, bringing up the whole idea of your glory being attacked, I was totally open to it. But like a lot of guys, you're used to believing the negative side, or you don't want to presume. You don't want to impose it on God. You don't want to name yourself. Right. That would be stupid. Yeah. I don't want to do that.
I'm Thor.
That's right.
No, you're not.
Exactly. It's just another opportunity to pose, right?
Yeah. I'm Gomer.
Yeah, right. So anyway, the first thing I heard was Mighty Warrior. So I kind of received that. Didn't seem like it just resonated. Didn't seem that personal. And I don't think it necessarily is, but quite frankly, everything that we teach or what we know in these boot camps is we all are mighty warriors. Right. And I needed the context that this is something worth fighting for, and then I needed to do that. So there was that. And then I just kept praying, and I think it was 2 or 3 boot camps later, probably my 3rd or 4th. I was like, God, what is it? And I was just like, he said, go look up your given name. So before I get into that, I'm going to be real vulnerable and give you guys a lot of opportunities to blackmail me and all kinds of stuff. But my mom didn't expect a boy, and my name was supposed to be Tina Marie. Mm-hmm. So, there you go, guys.
Mine was supposed to be Sesabama. just throwing that out there for you, Andy.
I hear you.
Oh, man, I can hardly believe this.
Right, exactly. Thank you very much. But I don't know. So I was born, and they had to come up with something, and you'd think, oh, well, that was kind of an afterthought, right? And I know this story. And it was Andrew Benton, it was like the Bible and some history stuff she threw together. And, I went through life with that. And then my dad, it's a big part of my story. It's related to my womb. My dad disappears in my life in my junior high time. So I had a stepdad who didn't really do my heart well. And I didn't get a lot that, we talk on here about masculinity is bestowed upon one another. And I didn't have a lot of bestowing going on. And I felt weak as a man. I didn't feel like I had control of my emotions. I had, as everybody hears me talk about, an orphan spirit. You can have parents, that love you, but you can live like an orphan. And I did for a long time. And so anyway, getting back to my new name, there's that. The glory being attacked was I had no strength. And I didn't even realize it. It's one of those things that sit under the surface. But I knew when I tried to rise up, I was a mess. And I ended up hurting people or not stepping up. I hurt people by going too far or hurt people by by hiding.
Not going far enough.
Not going far enough, not stepping into things. But anyway, God said, look your name up. And, I mean, I about wept when I saw it. The definition was strong or manly, which is the opposite of what I felt. Mm-hmm. And so what that looks like now over time is that, for example, I'm having a tough week at work. There's been opportunities to if you listen to the other show, wanting to switch my name to Drew, because there's been opportunity to get angry. And, I haven't, there's still just a sense that I'm strong. I would have handled it differently in the past. But there's a strength in entering into my daughter's life. When I used to just argue and bring I listen, I just bring a strength. And it's his strength. At first when I thought that, well, oh yeah, good, I get strength. It's really, we talk about reflecting his glory, it's his strength. Mm-hmm. But it's identifying with that. And if I'm truly made in his image and he carries strength and I'm made in his image, that means I get a measure of strength. And strength was what was being attacked. So anyway, that's what I got.
Well, thank you. Harold, I wanted to get to you to see what you wanted to talk about on this topic before I get to our next clip.
Well, sometimes I think the new name comes to you and you think, like I did, God, are you sure that's it? Do you really think that I'm a golden shepherd? Mm-hmm. Because the name that he gave me was loyal. Mm-hmm. The more I thought about it, the more I thought, yeah, that fits. I've been married over 61 years. Loyalty is something that's extremely important to me and has been most of my life.
I want to clarify, to the same person for 61 years. Some people could say that, and it's 3 people. You've been the same person, which is
and
incredible.
He's been loyal to the Auburn Tigers for a lot longer than 61 years.
Yeah.
We want to switch names. Mine means gentleman.
Gentleman, okay.
But anyway, if you really sincerely ask God what he thinks of you, he'll tell you. Mm-hmm. That's right. Just be prepared for it to be something that you think is not acceptable, or it may be completely acceptable, but it's his.
Yeah. With that thought being said, what keeps you from asking? What keeps most men from asking God, what's my new name?
Fear of some kind, right? They're afraid of what God may say, that it's going to be what you see in yourself.
Right. They're afraid God's going to say what everybody else has said.
Right.
You're a loser. You're a quitter. You're whatever. You're dangerous. You're hurtful. Any of those things. You're afraid God's going to confirm it.
Right.
And so that causes men to go, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, I'd rather not ask, and I'd rather not know than be confirmed.
One of the real beauties of my name is the fact that I'm not short, I'm not old.
Amen.
I'm loyal.
Absolutely, and that does fit you to a T.
Yes.
It does. That's one thing that can never be taken from you, Harold, is you are a very loyal person. I'm going to play a clip that we play at boot camp when we're talking about this topic, and this is a name. When they're talking about getting your new name. This is the essential clip that we play, and it's from Gladiator. Mm-hmm. And if you've ever seen the movie, you've ever seen really just about anything, you probably have heard this before. Mm-hmm. But we're going to play it and then come back and talk about it. But it's as he's in the arena with Commodus, and Commodus is wanting to know what his name is, and so we pick it up from there.
Gladiator, the Emperor has asked for you.
I'm at the Emperor's service.
Your fame is well-deserved, Spaniard. I don't think there's ever been a gladiator to match you. As for this young man, he insists you are Hector reborn.
Was it Hercules?
Why doesn't the hero reveal himself and tell us all your real name? You do have a name.
My name is Gladiator.
How dare you show your back to me? Slave! Will you remove your helmet and tell me your name?
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North, general of the Felix Legions, loyal servant to the true emperor Marcus Aurelius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next.
You go out, you hear this clip, right? And you hear it and you're like, oh yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go out and get my name, right? I'm going to get Maximus. I'm going to get William Wallace. I'm going to get something really cool. And so I've gotten many names over the years. The longer you stay with God, God gives you more names. Just like Jesus has many names, God has many names, you have many names. As Santa Claus had in our clip last show, there's many aspects of your personality, many aspects of your identity in Christ, right? And so when I went out for my first boot camp, I'm ready for this name, man. I'm ready. He's going to give me a great name. I know it. And I go out there and he goes, teacher. Like, okay, you got another one? And so I'm sitting there and he says, and he gave me another one. He's like, facilitator. I'm like, great, God, you're giving me vocations. I appreciate that. I mean, I don't, thank you, I guess. I don't really know. And I complained about those, even though God gave me some other names. And that was in 2002. And it took until 2025. No, we're in 24. In the fall of 24, where God finally harvested that. I was complaining about it once again on stage as I'm doing the new name talk at the time, and I'm going to share more of what God's done. And in the middle of complaining about saying the word teacher, saying, he tells me teacher and then he tells me facilitator. God obviously has a thesaurus, because I'm thinking they're the same thing. And as I'm complaining about that on the stage, I hear Jesus whisper in my ear, well, they called me teacher. And I was floored. And I realized that was an incredible honor that he had given me. And it took me so many years. He was trying to tell me in 2002, and it took me to 2024 to really understand it more fully. And in 2002, you had no concept of having done, I don't know, close to 900 radio shows and podcasts either. No. And talked at, 25, 30 boot camps. Right. Yeah, so that's when I thought I could never even get up and do an announcement because of my wounding. Right. God gave me a name of something that felt so abstract, that it felt so impersonal. But at the end of the day, it was incredibly personal. And then Robbie helped me understand that a lot of what God's had me do on the radio show when I'm hosting is to play facilitator, that they are different things. Yeah. And I've embraced those in a special way, just as I have other names. Andy, like you, they can make fun of me as well. My dad was not expecting a boy. So I don't know what my girl name was. It's not as great as Tina Marie, but I'm sure there was a name, or Sasquatch or whatever your name was. I don't remember what that was. Sapsawana. I don't remember what yours was.
Yeah. I didn't even have anything to come back with. It's like,
that is awesome.
You were from
I want that name.
Yeah, I got nothing. You guys have got something.
Sasquatchia. Yeah. My great grandmother's name was Cecily Bama. Okay. Because she was on the route. She was born in Alabama on her way to the Oklahoma land rush. Okay. Of 1889. And so that was how she got her name, and I was going to be named after her.
Oh, now I feel almost bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I tried hard, Sam.
Was close.
I tried really hard.
God will have to work on my guilt.
They had a plan for you.
Yeah. God's done some amazing things. And like with you, Andy, at another boot camp, and you guys have heard my wounding on other shows that, I had nothing important to say, right, that no one's going to listen to you anyway. So the names like teacher and facilitator, what's that resonate with somebody that has nothing to say? It could almost feel cruel, although I never felt that from God. The enemy never had a foothold there. But when God told me through one of our friends at a boot camp, I'm losing his name at the moment, to look up the name Samuel, what it means. It means God hears. right? And so, he very quickly came after my heart to say, look, it doesn't matter what men think. I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
So does it really matter if other people hear you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And again, that's a game changer for me.
Yeah.
And there's other names that God's given me along the way. And so I'd encourage you to spend time investing in Him to say, God, help me see this. To use Andy's advice, look at where you've been wounded, where the enemies beat you down. Robbie likes to call it whack-a-mole. Every time it pops up to God's glory, He whacks it back down. Right? Look at those clues and find a way to say, God, how are you been trying to tell me why you created me? We all want to know our purpose in life. Our purpose is to reflect God. You just got to figure out how you do that uniquely.
Yeah, I've heard Sam Eldridge, John's son, who wrote Wild at Heart, speak about this whole idea. The Bible is chock full of talking about us being the sons of God and the identity that we have in Him. And all those things are true, but they're not personal. And that's what I was talking to the guys earlier. What the new name meant to me, it was very personal. And the Bible is very targeted, but it is written for the masses. But God wants us to receive it as an individual. And so, but what he was saying was that all those things became much more true when he got his personal new name. All those things, you can step into those even more. Not everybody receives a new name, but I don't think it's because of, if you're asking, He's going to give it to you. I think it's just, it says if we don't ask, we won't get.
Yeah, we still have the blinders on. We don't have ears to hear, right? God is throwing it out there. My new name, I'm not a tattoo person. My name was so important to me that I got, in Hebrew, God hears. I got Samuel put in Hebrew on my shoulder, and it was just for me that when I'm having a bad day and I get out of the shower, which is an unpleasant thought I'll just begin with, I get out of the shower and I look at my shoulder, I can see God hears me. Go to masculinejourney.org to register for boot camp. We will talk with you next week. Let God love on you this week.